Before we start this turn, it is day. The revenant has no experience and will take 2 wounds. The Gly-Stig has 4, so she'll lose 2 and be down to 2. The succubus has 1, so she will take 1 wound. And the Leschi has 2 and will lose both of those, but not take any wounds. Up first we have the Gly-Stig, who is between these 2 large rooms with the spike pit in the corridor. Got 5 peasants on either side. Hopefully we can roll some symbols that'll help us take out some of these villagers, even though we won't gain experience. Well, 2 villager activations, only 1 melee. But we got 3 defensive symbols that we can reroll, and we will. That didn't turn out much better. So we got 2 each of melee, defense, and villager activation. All in all, not too bad, because we do have lured to their doom, so we can take out some peasants here. We'll go ahead and perform her activation symbols, both of them. Now it's a toss-up, because we have 2 rooms that are 4 away from the castle heart. So we need to roll to see which one, because there are peasants in both zones. If one zone contained peasants and one had only hunters, then the peasants would activate. But in this case, we have 2 rooms that each have peasants. So we'll roll 6-sided, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A 5 will be down where the demon hunters are. 2 peasants will activate and move forward. Let's see if we have enough room for them to fit in here with the grave digger. Yes, they both fit in there. We will lure peasants to their doom. And I'm choosing to lure those 5 into the corridor with me. That trap token is optional, and it does not take up space as far as whether or not the minis will fit. So we're just going to take that off of the tile temporarily. And all 5 peasants have moved onto the tile with me. And thanks to Lured to Their Doom, we're going to slay half, rounded down. So 2.5 rounded down to 2. 2 peasants are slain, reducing the morale by 2. We're getting there. We're down to 18. And we will use our other melee attack to take out another peasant that's here with me, affecting the village morale again. We're down to 17. She has 2 defensive dice. I could do led astray, but I don't want to move 1 peasant in every zone towards a villager spawn point. It does say towards a villager spawn point. It doesn't say towards the closest spawn point, so I might want to rethink that. I'm definitely going to add 1 to defense because that bounty hunter has me within range. And I will do led astray. Move 1 peasant in every zone, 1 zone towards a villager spawn point. And I think the spirit of the game would be towards the closest. I don't think I can just pick a random spawn point if it's further away to move them towards. So we'll move 1 peasant in every zone towards the closest spawn point. And that will use up all of the Gly-Stig's dice, taking us to the succubus here. And maybe she can do some damage. Maybe she's really upset that all these hunters are coming for her. She has nothing in reserve. And we have a magic, an activation, ranged, 2 defense, and a retaliation. She's not in too bad a shape. She only has the 1 wound. Could use seduction to move a villager within range instead of 1 that's furthest away. And I will do that. That has a range of 0 to 2. This corridor is 2 away. I'm going to use that to activate that villager with my activation die, the only one I have. That way the Gly-Stig won't take a wound from that villager. I'm going to move her back to the castle heart. That way she can take care of that peasant that's in the zone that she's in right now with her ranged attack. So I'm going to use 1 of my defense to move into the castle heart. And when I'm there, I'll fire a ranged attack. Back up 1 zone and take out that peasant with a ranged attack, lowering the morale to 16. And I'll use my embrace, even though I'm in the castle heart, I didn't need to use it. But I'll use it, embrace myself, and remove 1 wound. And just in case something crazy happens, I'm going to move that into the defensive area and end her turn, passing it over to the Leschi. The Leschi looks like it's hiding, but it's here in the corridor with the troll. Doesn't have any dice in reserve, so we'll roll all 6. And we have 2 defense, 1 ranged, 1 magic, 1 activation, and a retaliation. We definitely want to get out of this area with this troll. Our village morale is at 16, so we're getting close to winning this. We do have a magic, so we can activate one of his powers. I will use my magic to activate Wrath of the Forest, and my first ranged attack can target any zone. So I'll make that ranged attack, and I'll target this zone here, taking out that peasant, bringing the morale down to 15. We'll perform his villager activation. This one is the furthest away with villagers in it, because this one is empty. So one of these peasants will move forward and just make it in there. Since the Leschi does have some wounds, I'm going to add both of those defenses and then use my final die for movement to get away from the troll and move back to the castle heart. Passing the turn over to our final player, the revenant. We have 2 activations, 2 magic, a retaliation, and a ranged. Not a lot of attack there. Not really in position to do a whole lot. I don't want to go aggravate the troll because I don't want to move it into the castle heart accidentally and trigger that trap. It may move there on its normal activation anyway, but I don't want to cause that. We do have 1 ranged attack available, and I'll go ahead and use that one to attack into this adjacent zone, taking out another peasant, dropping the morale to 14. We'll do both of his villager activations. Again, they'll be coming from this zone here, and there's definitely no room left in this corridor. So we'd have to move 2 villagers in, which would heave 2 villagers out. And they should be of the same type if possible. We have plenty of peasants here, so these 2 peasants will get pushed out, and instead of moving everyone, I'll just put them in their place. And they got heaved into the chapel here. We'll go ahead and place this die into the defense just in case. Use one of these to move back into the castle heart, and just for the fun of it, we'll go ahead and heal 1 wound when we're in the castle heart. The revenant moves back and heals. That ends the monster phase. Now we'll go to the villager phase. Advance the event wheel 4. That'll take us up to 4, right past 2, with the next event triggering on 6. And we have Misfortune 2. All corridors are unlucky. All corridors are now unlucky, which means all attacks generated from those corridors, whether it's a melee attack inside or I shoot a ranged attack from a corridor to an adjacent zone, anything that's generated from a corridor has a 50-50 shot of missing. The game would have you flip the coin to see if it comes up heads or tails, but if I have to, I will roll 6-sided dice and count 4, 5, and 6 as successes. We now need to activate the villagers. There's no villagers in these 2 closest zones, and now out here we have large groups of villagers. We'll move this group of peasants first towards the castle heart. They didn't have a target in their zone that they could attack. Next we'll move these peasants forward into the corridor to spend a little quality time with the troll. The portal mage will activate, which means she will move 2 zones into the corridor, and she could fit in there, so that's not a problem. And she will move into the castle heart. She didn't have anyone within range when she was here in the chapel to attack. She had a range of 0 to 1. Now we move 3 out. We have a large group here, and some hunters over here. I'm sorry, some town heroes over here. We'll start with the bigger group here. These peasants will all move forward. Again, they have no target. And we will activate the gravedigger, who has a movement of 1. Up here, this peasant will move 1. And now the wind dancer can move 4 zones. She has a 0 to 1 range, so the Gly-Stig is out of range. And the wind dancer is now in the castle heart with us. The bounty hunter up here has a range of 0 to 2 and does 4 damage. We are 2 away, and the bounty hunter does have line of sight, so it will inflict 4 damage on the Gly-Stig because there is no one else in that zone to distribute the damage to. Luckily for us, we prepared by having defense. This defense will take care of 2 wounds from a single source, so she will take 2 wounds instead of 4. That puts her at 5. If we did not have that defense ready, she would have been slayed. And then the bounty hunter will move 2 zones, leaving us finally with this zone with all the demon hunters in it. First, the peasant will move, and then the hunters will move. None of them had targets within range. All the villagers have completed their attacks and movement, which means it's time to activate the troll and see where it is going to move. That will stun all monsters and up to 5 villagers in the zone, and then we have to see which way the troll will move. 1, 2, 3 towards the castle heart, 4, 5, 6 towards the spawn point. Perfect. First, the troll is going to stun up to 5 villagers. We now have 5 villagers stunned, and you lay them on their side to denote that. And then the troll is going to move back into this zone towards that spawn point. And there was plenty of room to accommodate him. Then the traps will trigger. There is no villagers in the corridor with the Gly-Stig, but we have town heroes here with the mimic chest. The mimic chest does 3 damage, and damaged town heroes are stunned. We have the wind dancer and the portal mage. We have 3 damage to distribute. I believe I can pick where the damage goes. 2 to the wind dancer, 1 to the portal mage. The wind dancer is stunned. The portal mage cannot be stunned. Now we have to spawn villagers, starting with the yellow. And we're going to have more peasants show up, 4 total. Over here with the blue, another group of 4 peasants. Joining those peasants with the red spawn point, we have a group of hunters. We cannot spawn demon hunters because there are 5 out already, so I've taken that token out of the bag. Oop, dropped it. And we're going to get mythic hunters. Our 4 mythic hunters have joined the peasants. And finally, our other red spawn point, we're going to get more hunters, total of 3. We have room for 1 more mythic hunter, but we're going to get undead hunters. We have our 3 undead hunters arriving to the cap. That will end the villager phase. We'll go into the cleanup phase, remove expired tokens. I will remove the defense tokens from the revenant, succubus, and Leschi. The mimic chest triggered and is gone. Draw a new trap card. And it is the boulder trap. A melee symbol to purchase, goes in a corridor, 3 damage to the zone, and 2 damage to an adjacent zone of your choice. Affects peasants and hunters. That is now available for purchase. We'll pass the first player over to the succubus and turn the light into darkness. And with a village morale of 14, hopefully, with all the targets we do have available, we can do enough damage, slay enough villagers, drop that morale to 0, and end the turn here at night. We'll begin our night turn with the succubus. 2 melee, 2 ranged, magic, and defense. The succubus is here in the castle heart with the Leschi and the revenant. We also have the portal mage and the wind dancer in the castle heart. The wind dancer is stunned, and already has 2 wounds, and we can target the Wind Dancer when it is stunned. So maybe we want to go after it and take it out right now. But the Wind Dancer is stunned, so it's no threat to us right now. I think the priority should be taking out as many villagers as possible. Since there's only a morale of 14 remaining, we should work towards lowering that as fast as possible, because there are a lot of villagers coming our way. So I will have the succubus use both of her ranged attack dice to take out 2 peasants in that adjoining corridor, lowering morale 2 more down to 12, netting the succubus 4 experience. And then I'll use this defensive one to move from the castle heart into the corridor and use both of her melee attack dice. But right now all corridors are unlucky and we're making an attack inside the corridor. The ranged attacks were from outside, so that wasn't an issue, but we have to roll and see if they're effective first. Since it's a 50-50 shot, we'll roll these 2 dice. 4, 5, and 6 is a success. 2 ones, no luck at all. And she'll use her final die to move back into the castle heart, which she can do. There's 4 villagers in there, but her health is at 6, so she is not hindered from moving back into the castle heart. That will end her turn, moving us over to the Leschi now, who has 2 ranged, 1 melee, a defense, an activation, and a retaliation. We'll go ahead and use his 1 villager activation. We have 2 areas that are 4 away from the castle heart, but this is the only area that contains peasants, so 1 peasant will move into the corridor. And that corridor is pretty packed, and I'm not quite sure if I can get anything else in that corridor. We don't have to worry about it yet. The Leschi has 2 ranged attack dice, and we'll fire into this corridor here, taking out 2 peasants, lowering the morale to 10. We only have 10 left to go, and we'll move into the corridor, and we'll use our melee attack once we're in there. We will move in to the corridor, do a melee attack, but we have to see if it's successful. 6 is a success. We'll take out this peasant, lowering the morale to 9. I forgot to give the Leschi his 4 experience from the 2 ranged attacks. I'll give him 2 for this one, which would be a total of 6, so we won't put it on the board, and we can level up. And right now we have all 3 powers. We just have to choose which one we want to make stronger. My choice is Wrath of the Forest. Instead of my first ranged attack targeting any zone, my first 2 ranged attacks can target any zone. And we'll use his final die to move back to the castle heart. And that will end the turn for the Leschi, taking us to the revenant, who's also in the castle heart. A couple of melee attacks, a ranged, 2 defense, and a retaliation. We'll use our ranged attack to fire into the corridor, taking out a peasant, lowering the village morale to 8, earning the revenant 2 experience. And we will move into the Hall of Stunned Peasants. We use both of our melee attack dice, see if we can be effective against unconscious enemies. This would be kind of funny if we missed. And we missed both. Maybe we stumbled when we entered the corridor. That is a really unlucky corridor. The revenant couldn't hit stunned peasants. The revenant will move back to the castle heart and then add the retaliation to defense. Back into the castle heart. Now the turn will go to the Gly-Stig, and let's see what she can do. 1 die bounced out and landed on the magic symbol. She also has 2 ranged, a melee, defense, and retaliate. Unfortunately, she's in a corridor, so her attacks with melee or ranged may not be successful. I could move her out of the corridor, but that wouldn't do too much for me. Well, I have 1 that I cannot reserve, so I will use the knight ranged attack to fire at that peasant in the graveyard. Are we successful? Yes. which means not only is that peasant taken out, but thanks to her piercing bolt in an adjacent zone, another peasant is taken out. Lowering the morale 2 more, down to 6, and that will earn her 4 more experience, giving her a total of 6. And we will level up Lured to their doom. Move all peasants or hunters in target zone 1 zone towards you, and slay half of all peasants or hunters moved rounded down. And we will use that. And we're going to target this area with the 3 hunters, move them into my zone, and then slay half rounded down, which would be 1. I don't think that special ability is affected by the misfortune where all corridors are unlucky, but let me check. I think I'm wrong. I think it does affect it, because it says in the rulebook that unlucky does not affect monster abilities that do not deal damage. So does that deal damage? It doesn't say that it deals damage, it just says slay them. But it targets peasants and hunters who only have 1 health apiece. It wouldn't do anything against town heroes, so I believe it would count as dealing damage, so we would have to check to see if it was effective. And it is. So that hunter stays dead. Lowering the morale 1 more, down to 5. We're almost there. And gaining her 2 experience. I don't think she can avoid being killed, because those 2 hunters are going to attack her and do 2 damage. I could block 1 with the defense, but I don't think it's a game changer if she dies, because she will come back the next round. I think it's more important to take out villagers, so we will we will add the retaliation to defense. I only have 2 health, and there are 2 hunters in my zone, so they would keep me from leaving the zone. So I'll go ahead and do my led astray to move 1 peasant in every zone towards the villager spawn point. We'll move a peasant back here, 1 of these peasants into the corridor. There are no peasants up here that can move. I don't think the stunned ones would move. Can't really lead them astray if they're knocked down or unconscious. Again, I'm not quite sure on that. The rulebook does say that stunned villagers can be attacked by monster attacks and abilities. So this stunned one will unconsciously roll into the chapel with everybody else. And I still have a ranged attack and a magic symbol. My ranged attack won't do me any good, and I can't move. So that will end the turn for the Gly-Stig, ending the monster's turn, moving us into the villager phase, and advancing the village event by 4, going up to 8. Trigger an event. Next we'll trigger at 10. That'll be the end of misfortune. And we got charge. Hunters move +1 zone. So when they move, they're going to move 2 zones now. Now we will start in the castle heart, since we do have enemies there. We'll ignore the wind dancer for now, because all it will do is stand up. But we do have the portal mage, who is not the same type as any of the monsters in this playthrough, let alone in the castle heart, which means she has no nemesis here and will attack the castle heart instead of the monsters. And the portal mage inflicts 2 damage to the castle heart, taking it down to 10 and inflicting the first wound on the castle heart. We have to be careful. If that reduces to 0, we lose. Then the wind dancer will stand up, and that'll be it for her turn. Now we have the 2 corridors that are adjacent. We'll start with the peasants, who will all wake up. Now we'll go over here to the bounty hunter, who will attack and do 4 damage. Attack damage is divided equally amongst all targets within range. Bounty hunter's here. She has line of sight, and all targets within range of 0 to 2 would be the succubus, the Leschi, the revenant, and the castle heart. That's 4 targets. Even distribution would be all 4, taking 1 damage. The revenant now has 2 wounds. The succubus has 1, the Leschi has 5, and the castle heart will take another hit and go down to 9. The bounty hunter can move 2, so it will join everybody in the castle heart. Next zone out, the graveyard, and then the small room containing the chapel. So all of these will now activate except for the troll. So all of the peasants will move out into this corridor first because they have no target. I moved all the peasants. This peasant that was stunned will wake up. Now we have our gravedigger who can only move one, does not have a target here. So we'll move into the corridor, joining that large group of peasants in the corridor. Next we move 3 away from the castle heart. We have one zone with peasants, one zone with hunters, and this zone with a mix of hunters and peasants. Starting up here, the peasants will move to the graveyard. These peasants and hunters have no target, so they'll move 1 into the chapel to join the troll. And we have our 2 hunters up there with the Gly-Stig, and they will both attack, do 1 damage apiece. So that is 1 and 2 damage, taking her up to 7, and that is enough to slay her. But the retaliation will kick in and get one of the hunters, slaying one of these undead hunters, dropping the morale down to 4. And we'll put that on pause for a moment because I made an error. I forgot that the charge is in play, so hunters move +1 zone. So all of these hunters here would have actually entered that corridor. Alright, they are packed in there pretty tight. I checked it out from above, and all of the miniatures that are in this corridor have more than 50% of their base in the corridor, so they can stay there. But the gravedigger got heaved out of the zone because there were hunters moving in. And it says that a miniature that causes the heave immediately moves into the zone it was attempting to enter. If a villager of the same type is not available, the next villager in the targeting priority is heaved. And after hunters would come town heroes. Now let's get back to the Gly-Stig, who now has 7 wounds, so her mini will be removed from the board and placed on her monster card. Any experience and wounds and any dice that would have been in the reserve or defense will be removed, and she'll reappear at the beginning of the next round. But when she does reappear, she will do 2 damage to the castle heart. And after slaying the Gly-Stig, this hunter will move 2 because of the charge card on the village event, leaving us with these villagers here. First we'll activate the peasants, then we'll activate the hunters who will move into the chapel where the troll is. And that takes care of all of our villagers' attacks and moves, which will activate the troll. Oh no, there are no monsters in the troll's zone, so it will not damage any of them, but it's going to move towards the castle heart. It's going to heave a bunch of peasants into there. I had to turn the troll the other way because the swords kept hitting the other minis, and he heaved 4 peasants into the castle heart. Traps would now trigger. The spike pit doesn't have anyone in that zone. And now we spawn villagers. And as if we need more villagers showing up, we will now spawn more, starting with the yellow. And we will get more hunters, a total of 4. And there will be demon hunters. There are 4 here already, so 1 demon hunter, followed by, looks like 1 mythic hunter. Already have 4 mythic hunters there, and 2 more undead. Now we have all of our hunters spawned. Come over here to the blue spawn point. Oh no, we're going to see 2 town heroes. The first one is the Grimlord. 6 health, 2 movement, 2 damage, 0 to 1 range. At the beginning of each villager phase, spawn 2 peasants in the Grimlord zone, and he's the undead type. Here is our Grimlord, and he is joined by the Pathfinder. 4 health, movement of 2, 3 wounds, range of 0 to 2. Keen-eyed. Melee and range cannot damage the Pathfinder. Mythic type. Wow, glad that came out now and not earlier. Here is our Pathfinder. And joining those two town heroes at the red spawn point, we have two more town heroes. Here's a symbol that would say that no town heroes spawn, but in this case, the scenario states that the town hero card always spawns a town hero. Joining those town heroes, we have the Alchemist, health of 4, movement and damage of 2, range 0 to 1. Volatile Concoction. Attacks deal 2 damage to all targets in the zone. Here is our Alchemist. And another town hero. We have the Fisherman. 7 health, 1 movement, 4 damage, 0 to 1. Fortitude. Immune to all damage from demon monsters, attacks, and abilities. And here is our Fisherman, who is joining the party. Tons and tons of town heroes showing up here at the end. All those town heroes are in place, and we have our last red spawn point here, which unbelievably will be 2 more town heroes, and I believe that will be the final 2, so we'll have all 10 of them out. We have the Scald, 5, 1 movement, 3 damage, 0 range. All villagers that attack in the Scald zone deal +1 damage with his battle song. And here's the Scald, coming in at that far spawn point. And lastly, the Spirit Tracker. 7 health, 2 movement, 2 damage, 0 to 1 range, disarm. If the Spirit Tracker enters a zone containing a trap, discard it immediately. And finally, here is our Spirit Tracker, ready to join up. But I think they all showed up a little too late. That was an epic spawn for the villagers. We'll move into the cleanup phase, remove expired tokens. The revenant had a retaliation in defense that we've removed. We can add another trap card. This time it's going to be the log ram. 4 damage and flip the first player coin. Heads, villagers advance 1 zone. Tails, villagers retreat 1 zone. Large rooms, affects peasants and hunters. Now our trap board down here is full. Plenty of choices. We'll pass the first player over to the Leschi and turn night into day. We'll start our day turn off by removing 2 experience or inflicting damage. The Gly-Stig is off the board and will not be affected. The revenant removes 2 experience. The succubus will remove 2 experience, taking her down to 2. The Leschi has no experience and will take 2 wounds. Currently at 5 and will now be at 7. And the Leschi will go first. We need lots of attack dice here. We only have 4 morale left. Well, that's not too bad. We have 1 ranged, 1 magic. This is blank. Those are the same, so we can re-roll them. And we have 3 magic and a defense. We'll re-roll those 3 magic. Now we have an activation and 2 melee attacks. That's a good start to the round. We will go ahead and do the villager activation. These are all town heroes here. Those are town heroes up there. And those are the 2 furthest zones. So we have to pick a zone. That'll be 1, 2, 3. That'll be 4, 5, 6. It'll be the top. And since they're the same, we have the Scald and the Spirit Tracker. We can choose which one moves. I will choose the Scald because he only moves 1 zone. Move him into the corridor. We have 2 melee attacks. The Leschi is here in the castle heart with everybody else. Targeting priority is weakest, so he will attack 2 peasants, taking them out. So those peasants being surged into the castle heart actually kind of helped out, dropping the morale 2 more down to 2. Then the Leschi will use its ranged attack, firing at a peasant in this adjacent zone, taking them out, reducing the morale by 1 down to 1. We are almost there. We're not going to use that defense that the Leschi rolled. We'll see if the revenant can finish it off for us. We need some melee attacks. We did not get any, but we got 3 symbols that we can re-roll. We need an attack of some kind. And we got it. There's the melee attack. We'll go ahead and resolve that first here in the castle heart. The revenant will attack a peasant, killing it and bringing the morale down to 0, winning the scenario for the monsters. And that was a lot closer than I would have liked. I thought things were going really smooth for us and it wasn't going to be very difficult, but I think if we had to go another round or two, we might have lost. The castle heart's at 9 and we have all of these town heroes and all of these hunters on the outside with some peasants ready to pour in there and just start taking us apart. It would have been really close. I don't know if we would have survived another villager phase. If we would have made it through this monster phase without finishing off that village morale, I think we probably would have lost. All these hunters would have attacked into the zone. I mean, their priority would be the succubus because that's their nemesis. The gravedigger would have attacked the revenant. The bounty hunter would have divided again. The portal mage would have attacked the heart directly. The wind dancer would probably have attacked the heart if they would have finished off the succubus. So it would have been close because the wind dancer does 3, 4, 5. Bounty hunter would have did 1 for 6, maybe 7, and the castle heart's at 9. Hard to tell without going through it, but I think it would have been really close to a loss for us. But we succeeded with all of these villagers ready to pour in. We broke their morale and won the game. I think maybe for a bit of added difficulty, you could house rule that once you bring the village morale down to 0, that there are no longer any spawns, but you have to slay all of the villagers that are still inside your castle. I don't think I would have been able to do that. I think they would have defeated me, especially with all of these town heroes showing up at the end. They would have moved quickly towards the castle heart and started taking us out. And once we were out of the way, the castle heart would be easy for them to attack. And maybe even the troll would have moved in there and started attacking it. But we did quite well. We won the scenario. Castle heart still at 9. We only lost the Gly-Stig, our only monster to be slayed. She didn't get a chance to respawn. And that would have hurt us too, because she would have damaged the castle heart by 2. So I think we definitely would have lost if we had to go into the villager phase. We just pulled this out. Now I'll give you my thoughts on the game. First, we'll talk about the rulebook. The rulebook is okay. It gives you the rules, but there are a lot of things that I had to ask questions on, and I really like to thank Mr. Smith from Grimlord Games that got on there quickly and answered the questions for me. So I was able to do this playthrough, so that was a lot of help. Definitely need some revisions, and then the printing error on the monster boards for the Voidyanoi and Baba Yaga need to be resolved. I don't think it would be fair to ask him to reprint the boards for every person that got this game. It seems a little extreme for something that can be resolved with a nice sticker, especially since they're not cards or anything that need to be shuffled or put into a stack. A different thickness because of a sticker would affect them. I'd be happy with just some stickers to put on there. The components themselves are great. The monster boards, the town heroes, the tokens are all a really nice, thick, solid cardboard. The dice are nice. They have nice rounded corners on them. They roll well. They're also etched, not just painted on, so they're not going to wear off. The minis are really nice. Lots of good detail in the minis. Really good for people that are good painters out there. I'll get around to painting them at some time in the future. And hopefully I'll have my skills up by then, because there's a lot of good detail that could be brought out in these minis. The cards are good quality. Nice thick core, nice smooth linen finish, easy to shuffle. And it comes with plenty of minis, because even with all this that was going on, I still never ran out of minis and had to activate miniatures. So there are plenty. I got down to, I believe, having only 3 peasants left at one time, but I was never in danger of running out of hunters. I always had a dozen or 15 of them remaining throughout the game. But I imagine it could happen if the spawns hit you the wrong way, especially if you're on tier 2 and 3 a lot. We were able to get down to tier 1 pretty quick. The theme holds up throughout the game really, really nice. Between the art, the minis, the boards, the tracker, the cards, everything really is presented well and is a really fun theme. It's really nice to play as the monsters fending off the villagers that are attacking the castle. That was a really fun little dynamic that was really nice to play through. I really enjoy the game. The rulebook comes with 14 scenarios in it. The first 5 are really teaching scenarios, so you have 9 others. You can play the teaching ones outside of the teaching and just add things back in and play those maps that way. But those scenarios are really good at incrementally bringing you into the game, adding aspects, whether it's town heroes or traps or village events and things like that. That really helps you learn the game in little steps, which I did go through those scenarios, and that helped a lot by doing it a little bit at a time. And I know there are several expansions I did not get. I have Wrath and Ruin, Rage and Avarice, and Despair and Aberrance. I think there are 4 or 5 others that I did not get. I did not go all in for this Kickstarter, and I wish I did. Would have been fun to have those additional expansions. And then I believe there's an expansion that allows you to summon your own little minions and use them also. Wish I would have got that too, now that I see how much I'm enjoying the game. But you never know. It's hard to go all in sometimes on something that you're just looking at pictures and videos of. But maybe those items will become available now that this is, and I'll be able to pick them up. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough of Village Attacks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.